thank you for joining the State of Trees, April 2024, the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign webinar. Student research presentations of trees and land cover from the 2024 Globe International Virtual Science Symposium, highlighting projects from several Globe countries. And we have some students here live, and we have some recordings as well. So we have a combination of a lot of things. So with that said, I want to kind of get us in the mood to, talk about research and have students present and watch some. We have. I should also say we have a combination of pre-recorded projects, and then also we have one live project from students in Dubovac School in Croatia. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But I always like this quote here: "Science is made up of mistakes, but they are mistakes which it is useful to make because they lead little by little to the truth." And I always like that because I often, with what I do at NASA, I'm going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. You make mistakes when you do research. You make mistakes when you analyze research and all these things. But, these mistakes then add up to understanding things just a little bit better each time. So, and this is a quote by Jules Verne, who was a French novelist, poet, and playwright. So he was not a scientist per se, but he was in the basically the liberal arts, and but understood the importance of making mistakes in order to understand things just a little better. I wanted to show you this here. If anybody wants to scan that QR code. Oh, I should also say, I'm sorry I didn't already, but happy belated Earth Day, which was yesterday, April 22nd. But this is a toolkit that NASA put together for Earth Day, even though, we like to say, even though Earth Day is on April 22nd every day is Earth Day, because that's the only planet we're living on, right? So that's what we really need to know the most about. So, feel free to scan this QR code while it's up here, and then check it out, because there's lots and lots of really cool tools and activities and lessons and visualizations and lots of cool Earth stuff, new cutting edge Earth stuff that you can use all year long. So you can check it out at the Earth Day 2024 Outreach Toolkit. Lots of cool stuff here. So make sure you check that out. All right. So sorry to blast you with this crazy webinar agenda here, but there is a lot we're going to go through today. We have 5 featured presentations. The first one will be a live presentation from the students from the Dubovac School, and they're going to be talking about tree and natural air conditioner, their project. And then the next 4 are actually recordings that I received from the presenters. So we're going to play the recordings, and then afterwards, we are going to, after each one, we're going to open it up for Q&A. And I see that there are a lot of awesome students there from Nigeria who are part of this research project, the environmental benefits of trees in urban secondary schools. So thank you all for joining. And then we will have a recording playing from Globe Argentina, Una Sombra para Victoria, a shade for Victoria City. So Maria Fernanda Kiomanowicz is on with us today. And then we have 2 presentations, 2 recordings from the SEAS program. And before I will let, once we get to those, I will let our own Peter Nelson, and I see Cassie Sofing is on as well. They work with the SEAS students regularly, so I can have them say little things about what the SEAS program is before we play those 2 videos, and hopefully a couple of students are on from there. I got emails from a couple students who would be able to join from each one of those projects. So hopefully we're able to have them on today. I can't see the participant list right now, but we'll get to that when we get to that section. Then after the student presentations and the Q&A for each one, we will then, I wanted to bring in some folks to highlight some of the really amazing phenology campaigns that are going on right now. The North America Phenology Campaign, we have Alicia Carlson, University of New Hampshire, with Globe in the United States. We'll be talking about that. And then we have Lenka Kleger from the Globe European Eurasia Regional Office in the Czech Republic. We'll be talking about the European Phenology Campaign and the 2024 Spring Tree Campaign. And then at the end here, we will be playing part 2 of these interviews that I did with Dr. Soren Popescu with the ISAT-2 mission, and Dr. Bruce Cook. We showed the first parts of these webinars during the first parts of these interviews during the March webinar a month ago. Bruce Cook is with Landsat, and Soren Popescu is with ISAT-2. As you know, two major missions that are part of this Trees Around the Globe student research campaign. So quickly, let me always do this. We've had a big jump since the last month in measurements as far as tree height, land cover, and greenings. We are at, since the beginning of year 6 on 1 October 2023, we are almost at 23,000 measurements from over 5,700 global sites. And then I always like to show this. Since the campaign began on September 15th, 2018, we are at over 186,000 observations of tree height, land cover, and greenings, and from almost 60,000 global sites. And I always like to say, and now especially because Lenka's here, and the European Phenology Campaign does such an impressive job with working with their educators and students to take the green up, green down, or greening observations. So a lot of those, I'm going to say the majority of those that are on this list here come from the Europe and Eurasia region as part of the European Phenology Campaign. So, we always are so grateful for that campaign and the amazing amounts of data and activities that they put forth. But you'll hear from Lenka a little later on today. So I wanted to give you, this is the next webinar for May. We're going to be doing things a little differently and a little strangely for this one. This will be the State of Trees, May 2024. And I will be traveling again this year to Japan to support NASA and the ISAT-2 mission and the GLOBE program at the Japan Geoscience Union meeting in Chiba, Japan. And we will be doing a webinar live from Japan. Now, here's a situation. I should also mention it's called Revisiting the Waterland Tree Boundary in the 2023 Where is the Water Challenge through the use of NASA datasets and NASA Worldview. Now, with that said, the first webinar, there's going to be 2 webinars. One's going to be a live webinar. The other one will be live, but it'll be a rebroadcast and some other information, extra information. But it will first be at on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. It's going to be 3 p.m. Japan time. From where I am now in Eastern time, Japan is 14 hours ahead of us right now. But so this will be 3 o'clock p.m. Japan time, which will then be actually 2 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. UTC, and 8 a.m. Central European Summer Time. But we will be doing a rebroadcast at the normal webinar time that same day. I may or may not be there because I may be sleeping, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be about 3 o'clock in the morning. But our own Peter Nelson, who is with us today, will be leading that rebroadcast webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So this same time that we have right now. So we'll be rebroadcasting this. So I will get Peter the recording of the first webinar. And what I plan to do is I plan to do some interviews with some folks from JAXA, which is a Japanese space agency. And they're going to be talking a little bit about, I'm going to ask them some questions about trees and land cover, things of that nature, like we've done with other scientists in the past. So stay tuned for that. You should get an invitation soon for this. I will send an invitation out for both of these. Because we want to get as many people as we can live, in the first one, which hopefully we can get a lot of folks from the Philippines and Thailand and, some more, in that region. So, because right now, this is a difficult time right now for them to join. So, that's why we recorded as well. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a little different. As you know, remember we did last November, we did it live from Morelos Park in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. And that turned out really well. This is going to be from Chiba, Japan. So where I'll be in person in May. So stay tuned for more information on that. All right. So without further ado, we are going to start off with our student presentations today. And remember, these were all projects that were submitted to the Globe International Virtual Science Symposium, or IVSS 2024. And these are ones that I pulled out that I thought were really amazing, that I wanted to hear more about. So the first one, we will be hearing from students from the Dubovac School, and they're going to be talking about Tree, a natural air conditioner. So as you can see here, we have lots of students and they can introduce themselves when they present. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will pass it over to the great students in Croatia. So go ahead and take it away in Croatia from Dubovac.
Hello. Ne, treba. Kako se zove iz ovoga? Bez samo, Sedmi razred. Moraš podijeliti. Ne, prvo treba ući, inače ga neće. A ne, prvo treba.
We understand technology, so we get it. It's okay.
We don't. Moraš prvo podijeliti tu. Samo šest. Ne, neće ga. Tako što mi radili to.
Can you see our presentation?
Yes, but please put it in presenter mode. We only see the.
Yes, of course.
You see it now. Do you see your presentation?
Yep, I can see it. But it's not in. I don't see it in presenter mode yet. Does anybody else?
No. Ne vidim ovako, nego je vide ovako, tako je vide. I zato je mene pomoćilo. Samo malo. Što ne mora reći ono što mi smo to znali. Samo odmah ući, izaći I onda upast opet u.
Yeah, if you can't get it into presenter mode, you can just do it from here. That's fine. If you want to do it from here, that's fine.
Can you see us switching the slides?
Yes, we can see I'm switching.
All right.
So yeah, that's fine. You can do it this way. That's fine.
We can do it like that.
Can we start?
Yes.
Yep. Go ahead and start.
Ne, neće one vidjeti.
Okay. Hello, we are students from Elementary School Banja and Elementary School Dubovac from Karlovac, Croatia, and we will present our research project 3 as natural air conditioner. For several years, our school has been cooperating in European Phenology Campaign and observing the burst tree. The burst trees are located near the globe atmospheric stations of both schools. And in addition to phenological observations, we measure atmospheric parameters and surface soil temperature.
We learned from the literature that the surface temperature is the temperature at which energy is emitted from the surface in the form of electromagnetic radiation. A part of the received solar energy is reflected off the ground, and a part of the energy is absorbed by the ground, which starts to warm up. We decided to investigate where it is more comfortable to stay on hot days, under the parasol or in the shade of a tree.
For the research, we decided to measure the surface temperature on the grassy surface under the birch tree and on the parasol and on the sunny grassy surface. Our research questions were: is the current temperature of the air always lower than the surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grass on both stations? Is the surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grass always higher than the grass surface under the birch trees and under the parasol on both stations? Will the surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grass in the observed period be higher at both stations if the soil moisture is lower? The current temperature of the air will always be lower than the surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grass. The surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grass will always be higher than the surface temperature of the soil on the grass under the birch trees and under the parasol. The surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grass will be higher if the moisture of the soil is low. The research was conducted in the period from June 13, 2022 to September 23, 2022 on hot and warm days, when the amount of cloud cover was less than 50%. At 12:15 p.m., we opened identical parasol on the sunny grassy surface. After 15 minutes, we measured the surface temperature of the soil on the different surfaces and the current air temperature at both atmospheric stations. Data on soil moisture we downloaded from the SMAP satellite database for Karlovac.
Air temperatures and surface soil temperatures on sunny grass areas on warm and hot days with cloud cover below 50% at both stations. In the period of research, we had 37 warm and hot days. In all observed days, shown at both measuring stations, the current air temperature is always lower than the soil surface temperature of the sunny grassy surface. The gray line shows the current temperature of the air at station Dubovac, and the yellow line shows the current air temperature at station Oshbania.
Comparing the soil surface temperatures on the sunny grass area, on the grass area under the birch tree and the parasol, we observed that the soil surface temperature on the sunny grass area is always the highest on all observed days at both stations. The bright blue line shows the measured surface temperature of the soil on the sunny grassy surface on the station at Banja, and the green line shows the measured surface temperatures of the soil on the sunny grassy surface at Dubovac. On all observed days, the soil surface temperature on the grassy surface under the birch trees was the lowest at both stations. The orange line shows the measured surface temperature of the soil on the grassy surface under the birch tree on the station at Dubovac, and the dark blue line on the station at Oshbania. The soil surface temperature on the grassy surface under the parasol is always higher than the surface temperature on the grassy surface under the birch trees at both stations. The yellow line shows the measured surface temperatures of the soil on the grassy surface under the parasol on the station at Dubovac, and the gray line on the station at Banja. In the observed period, the soil moisture ranged from 12.9% to 20.7%. And the surface temperatures of the soil on sunny grassy areas were always higher than 27 degrees Celsius at both stations. The highest values of surface temperatures on sunny grassy areas at both stations were from June 17, 2022, when lower soil moisture was recorded, from July 7th, 2022 until July 11th, 2022, soil moisture increased, and in that period, lower values of the surface temperatures were measured on sunny grass surface at both stations. From June 13th until from July 13th till July 15th, 2022, soil moisture decreases and the surface temperatures on sunny grass surfaces increase at both stations. There were only 17 days of satellite measurements for the Karlovac area in the SMAP database for the research period. To confirm our third hypothesis that the lower the soil moisture, the higher the soil surface temperature will be on the sunny grass area, we should have more soil moisture data at both stations.
Differences in measured current air temperatures and soil surface temperatures are probably due to microclimate, differences caused by microclimatic differences in spatial environment, and due to the different vegetation sizes in the measured areas. The surface temperature of the soil under the tree is lower because the tree with all its leaves absorbs solar energy. In this process, respiration and transpiration occur on the leaves, so the leaves cool down. Transpiration and respiration of the leaves have a cooling effect and increases the humidity in the air, so the tree can act as an air conditioner on warm and hot days. We believe that the surface temperature of the soil under the tree are lower because the tree, with all its leaves, absorbs solar radiation. The parasol with its surface partially reflects and partially absorbs solar energy, but has no cooling effect.
we assume that this property of the parasol influenced the obtained measurement results that the surface temperature of the soil under the parasol are higher than the measured surface temperatures of the soil under the birch trees. This research work shows that the tree can be an air conditioner and replace parasols.
Which will replace people's parasols. Even though the city of Karlovac is a city of parks, there are not enough trees in some city districts. So we suggest planting them to make the city more pleasant for living in the summer. These are our sources. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation. Is there anyone there who has any questions for the students from Croatia? Feel free to put it in the chat. Peter Falcon can monitor that as well. But does anybody have any questions about the presentation?
Ryan, this is Peter. I haven't seen any questions in the chat yet, but I do have a question. My question is, were the expectations that they had when they went into their research, was it what they, at the end, is it what they thought they would be at, with their hypothesis? And I'm sure I'm not wording that correctly.
We kind of expected it. I mean, all of the things that we actually put into our hypothesis was at least a little bit expected, but yeah, some of the things that we got in the end were a bit surprising. And
what made you decide to use SMAP data? We're all happy to hear that you were able to reach out and use some NASA data. But what made you decide to grab that?
We didn't have the measurements for it, so we needed to use that data in order to actually fill in our research.
Gotcha. And Lenka has a question for you. She asks, did you share your findings with the local community or the municipality? And is there a plan to plant more trees in the future in Karlovac?
We did share the project with the local community, and I hope there is a plan to plant trees in Karlovac, and there should be, and there will be.
That's great. It's great to see you going from researcher to activist and actually caring about your local community and making an effort to plant trees to help your community.
And I love that they use SMAP data. That's so awesome. So that's one of the things that those of you who know in this campaign is we really push the use of satellite data, and definitely Peter Nelson will back me on that, because there's so much good data out there that for you to not just compare to your observations, but as you ran into you didn't have that data, so you thought, oh, but SMAP has that data. There's a NASA satellite up there that has that data that we can grab that data from. So awesome thinking with the research project. That's a good heads up there for SMAP, and you're doing us NASA folks proud when you use the SMAP data.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly what Peter Nelson mentioned in the comments. Yes, in the chat, satellite data is great for filling the gaps. Very true. All right. Any more questions from anyone?
I don't see any in the chat box, Brian, but I would advise the students from Karlovac to look through the chat box. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free to put them in there, and students, you guys can answer those questions via the chat.
All right, very cool. Thank you again for the awesome presentation. We're very excited that you wanted to present live, so thank you very much for taking the time, and to your teachers as well for bringing you in here and showing off all the great research work you did. So thank you so much. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go back and share my screen, because the next 4 presentations are going to be recorded. I'm going to tell you the first one. We're going to start off with the first one is going to be the one from the students in Nigeria. Now, the recording is a little low in the beginning, so I'm going to max my volume up, but it still may be a little low, and then it gets a little better afterwards. So you may need to increase the volume on your own personal computer there. So let me go ahead and share my screen and go back to this. All right. All right, Peter Falcon, can you see that okay?
Yes, and I do have a question. Are the students from Nigeria joining us to answer questions after
They are.
the
There's a full group of students from Nigeria. They're here. There's looks like probably about 15 to 20 of them here. So that's pretty awesome because it's probably a little like after 8 o'clock or so over there PM. So let me go ahead and play this recording. As I mentioned, it's going to be a little low in the beginning as they're walking towards you in the video, but it'll change. But feel free to. I'm maxing mine out, so this is loud. I can make it, but you may be able to make it louder on your end. So let me go ahead and play this. And this is called Environmental Benefits of Trees in Urban Secondary Schools. Folahan Catherine Adeyemo is on with us, and many of these students that you see listed here are part of it as well. So once again, Peter Falcon, after I play the video, feel free to open it up for Q&A.
Will do.
Okay. It's going to be a little low right now, but it'll change.
What role do trees play in reducing the air and surface temperature? The objective of this project is aimed at examining temperatures under three different surfaces, which includes under trees, bare ground, and asphalted surface. Trees make cities more healthier and more sustainable, and it provides plants and animals with favorable habitat, food, and protection. As we all know, that trees are part of the living things on Earth. They play a vital role in humans, animals, and all other living organisms. The roles of trees in the environment, especially as it relates to climate change, is one of the issues that have been emphasized by climate change scientists, and that's why afforestation is a key component of climate change adaptation. Large urban trees are excellent filters for urban pollutants and fine particles. The general benefits of trees are not only well understood by the academic communities, but by municipalities and institutions around the countries and the world. However, even when the general benefits of trees are understood and desired, it is difficult to manage and maximize their benefits without a quantitative information on direct benefits of trees in an urban. Trees also provide the means of being carbon depth. This is done, and the trees take out carbon from the atmosphere. It releases oxygen. But when most of these trees are cut down and are used as firewood, planks for buildings, and for other infrastructural facilities, there will be more carbon circulating in the atmosphere, which contributes immensely to global warming and climate change. According to Dr. Gregory Law, an emeritus professor of global change biology, she was the first scientist to measure the actual carbon fluctuation over time and understands how carbon goes in and out of the forest. A tree can absorb up to 150 kg of carbon per year. The research method. The research was carried out using the Globe Observer app to get the accurate tree height, a measuring tape to measure the tree circumference, a handheld infrared thermometer to get the surface temperature, and digital hygrometer to get the air temperature on three different surfaces, which includes under tree, bare ground, and asphalted surface for a period of 6 weeks, covering all the days of the week except Sunday, because Sunday was a worship day and active school activities takes place on that day. The measurements were made between 12:35 p.m. to 1:35 p.m. local time for the period of the study. Method of analysis. The data was analyzed using frequency, percentage, bar charts, and pie charts. The study shows that temperature varies at different surfaces. The globe protocol used biosphere, atmosphere, surface temperature measurement, and air temperature measurement. In conclusion, the study presents a micrometeorological study on the environmental benefits of trees in urban Secondary School, using Para Government Girls College, Akure as a case study. Temperatures under 3 different surfaces, which includes under trees, bare ground, and asphalted surface, within the school were measured. Temperatures on commonly planted trees such as neem tree, melina tree, and mango within the school compound were measured in degrees Celsius for a period of 6 weeks. Infrared thermometer and digital hygrometer was used to take the air and surface temperature respectively. The globe observer app for trees was used to take the tree height and circumference and to calculate the average rate of all the temperature and to submit it to the globe observer app. The data was analyzed using frequency, percentage, pie chart, and bar chart, and the study shows that temperature varies at different surfaces. That tree recorded the lowest mean temperature of 22 degrees Celsius, followed by bare ground with 28 degrees Celsius, whereas asphalted surface recorded the highest mean temperature of 23 degrees Celsius. Creation of awareness of tree planting among the students and staff of urban secondary schools should be intensified. The earth stage should be utilized in order to demonstrate a practical way of planting trees. Tree seedlings and water should be made available in order to maintain the trees planted. Students should be encouraged to plant by emphasizing the process in order to encourage them to engage in tree planting in the school. Thank you.
All right, as you can see, there was a lot going on in that presentation, meaning that there was a lot going on in the work they were doing. You can see they had variables from all over, talking about the carbon dioxide brought in by trees. They're showcasing measuring trees. They were doing air temperature measurements. They were doing temperatures of surface on the different surfaces in the shade and in the sun. So see, there was a lot, and by the graphs that you saw at the end, you saw a lot going on there as well, that they were really looking to get as much data as they can in their area, around the urban secondary schools where they attend. So, Peter, let me pass it over to you for any Q&A. I'll stop sharing right now.
Thanks, Brian. There are a couple of questions in the chat, and the students were great. They already answered a question from Andrea.
Okay.
I do have a question. Is there a train tracks right behind their school? That looks pretty scary to see that they're making their observations right next to train tracks, but that's some of the things that we go through in order to make our observations. My question is, what part of, I apologize if I didn't hear this in the beginning of the presentation, but what part of Nigeria is your school located at? And how many students are part of your program? Because it looks like there's quite a few of you. And if your mic, yeah, it looks like maybe their mic's not working. Maybe they can put the answer in the chat box if possible.
Sir, I didn't get you. Sir, I didn't get your question.
Sure. My question is, what part of Nigeria is your school located at?
Okay. So it's located in the western part of Nigeria, Akure, Ondo State, Nigeria.
And how many students are in your project?
22 students, sir.
And Peter Nelson just wanted to make, he had a comment. He said, and remember that those surface types that you've been recording the globe land cover. So don't forget to globe land cover as well. Lenka has a comment. She said, wow, you collected a lot of data. Do you also work with the globe database to compare your results with other schools' measurements? That is her question.
Yes, sir, we did. So I was working with the globe database.
And do you plan on working with any other schools to compare your measurements?
No, sir, we did. We did all
Another
the
question.
projects across all students in our school.
So basically, yeah, Peter, I think they're saying that all the research they did was within their school, and maybe in the future they could work with some other schools as well. But this is set up with just them. But yeah, that's great. They did a lot of data collection, so that was great.
That's excellent. And I noticed that they planted a tree. What type of tree was that?
Melinas.
Thank you. Lenka just wanted to also say best of luck to your future work.
We have melina, oil palm, mango, cashew, sapinpa, stick, moringa, cashew, popo, mint tea, trema, flamboyant trees, and many others.
Wow, that's a lot of tree species. That's pretty awesome, from cashew to mango to wow. Yeah, that's great. It's great to see.
And there's a couple comments in the chat box you may be interested in seeing. Andrea asks, did you use the Globe Observer app to record your measurements?
Yes, sir, we did.
Excellent.
Yep.
And then Peter Nelson. And Peter Nelson also made a comment. He just says, you should explore your local data here. And he presented a website that you can go to that you can see data from Africa. So if you're interested, click that website and see. Peter is all about data, as Brian mentioned, and he knows where the best and most user-friendly data is for our students.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you. I don't see any more comments in the chat, Brian, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. And once again, students, look at the chat to see if people have any comments for you.
All right, thank you, Peter. And thank you so much to the students and teachers in Globe, Nigeria. That was a great presentation, because as everyone saw, that there was a lot of research done and a lot of data collection done there in their location. So thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, so I'm going to go back and share, and I'm going to go to the next presentation here. Let me go ahead and do that. All right. Oh, let me do this here. Share. All right, Peter, can you see that again? I'm going to ask each time.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, perfect. All right, so this is going to be from Globe, Argentina. Una sombra para Victoria, and it's a shade for Victoria City. And we have a teacher online, Maria Fernanda Kilmanovitz, and we have, I believe, some students from that location as well, the Colegio de la Mesopotamia, the green team. So once again, this is recorded. This is a pre-recorded presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and play this, and then we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. So stay tuned. This isn't bad. It's just about a little under 7 minutes long, kind of like the last one, but enjoy. This is one of my favorites. I like them all, but you know, this is really cool, of course. Here we go.
You will put the presentation.
We are a group of the students from the Mesopotamia School in Victoria, Entre Rios, Argentina, with our project A Shade from Victoria, aimed at making our city a more sustainable place.
Victoria City is situated between one of the largest wetlands in South America, the delta of the Paraná River, and the crop area. Our city has a unique setting. The increase in public tree planting would improve the health and well-being of the population, enhance the sustainability of the city and community, reduce temperature and increase local carbon capture, contributing to climate action, improve the lives of terrestrial ecosystems, and finally, collaboration between the municipality, the private sector, and civil society brings us closer to sustainable development goals.
With its story spanning 2 centuries, it is home to approximately 35,000 people. Take a look at the old houses, intricate roofs, and narrow sidewalks.
We call it the City of Seven Hills because the streets rise over 7 hills, and also as the City of Rios, which were forged by these early immigrants.
Anthropogenic climate change is causing cities because construction areas exceed green areas. This, combined with high summer temperatures, causes the city to act as an urban heat island, meaning air and surface temperatures are much higher than in surrounding rural areas. This temperature increase affects the citizens, causing widespread discomfort and making them more prone to heat-related illnesses. Tree leaves reflect solar rays, preventing areas with construction materials from absorbing heat, thus reducing air and surface temperatures.
We measure the air and surface temperatures along wide span and a specific point in the city, from the central area toward the periphery, to demonstrate whether the city of Victoria behaves as an urban heat island. We also compared these temperatures on sidewalks exposed to the sun and sidewalks shaded by a tree. All these measurements followed the FLOP protocols, and the collected data was subsequently uploaded to the platform.
The proposal does not require a significant economic investment. It aims to lower the city's temperature through a natural means that does not rely on fossil fuels. We intend for the municipality to declare this campaign of municipal interest.
promoting this activity and inviting the private sector and citizens to participate. Through experiences, we determined that in shaded areas, air and surface temperatures are lower. Additionally, construction materials slowly absorb solar heat, raising their temperature, and part of that heat is emitted, thus increasing air temperature. A survey confirmed that a high percentage of the population lacks trees on their sidewalks, particularly in downtown area, and there is citizen interest in improving public tree planting.
If we want our city to achieve some sustainable development goals by 2030, we must plant the maximum number of trees as soon as possible, as change will only be visible in 5 to 10 years' time depending on the tree species. For all these reasons, it is time to act and make a change.
All right, let me pass it over to Peter for any Q&A.
Brian, there's it's the irony is I think two of our three presenters so far are IBSS projects that I actually researched that I actually reviewed, so I'm a little familiar with them. And we did not talk about that. This may or may not be one of them. But what I really like about this project, and I apologize, I put folks to ask questions in the chat a little late, and I'm sure they will add.
Brian?
But what I liked the fact that when you guys created your presentation, you really showed us what your town looks like by doing the video. That was very nice, so we can get an understanding and almost like a sense as if we're there with you. I really enjoyed the fact that you connected your research to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I thought that was a great idea to do, and we'd love to see more of that in future presentations to see how you align with these UN Nation Developmental Goals. And I also wanted to say that you did a great job of creating that map as well. Can you tell us what are the pins? You had a yellow pin, a green pin, multiple pins. Can you tell us what those pins were?
Can you repeat, please?
Sure.
Perdón, Fernanda está preguntando si los colores de los pines en el mapa correspondían a algo determinado. Había rojos, había verdes, había azules.
They were different species of trees.
Thank you, and thank you, Andrea, as well.
We have the presentation in PowerPoint.
Okay, feel free to go ahead and share then, because I wanted to show the video first, and then if you can share your screen, go ahead right now and then share this right now. Peter, we're going to share their PowerPoint right now, so we'll get a little bit more detail with the presentation.
Wait a minute.
All good. And those of you, the students who are on here about to present, go ahead and take a look in the chat as well, because there's some questions that you can either answer as part of your presentation or you can answer them in the chat.
Brian, another thing I was going to mention to students is as we wait for them to get their presentation going, I love the fact that they had a goal in mind. They wanted to see change by 2030. They saw this, they set up a date, and they actively pursued that by planting trees and making sure that they made a difference now in order to reap the benefits later, not just for themselves, but for other students that are coming and everyone else that lives there as well.
Yes. All right, we can see your slides. If you just maybe scroll up a little bit, because we see them on kind of on the bottom. Yeah, if you make it full screen. Yep, looks good. Don't forget to unmute before you talk.
Good afternoon. We are students from Mesopotamia School representing the group of students who work on this project. We carried it out last year when we were in the first year. Argentina is located in the southern hemisphere with respect to the equator and to the west of the prime meridian. It occupies part of the American continent. The national territory is comprised of 23 provinces and the autonomous city of Buenos Aires, the capital of the country. The province of Entre Rios is located in the central eastern part of the Argentina Republic. It borders the province of Corrientes to the north, Santa Fe to the west, Buenos Aires to the south, and the Oriental Republic of Uruguay to the east. The provincial territory is bounded by the Paraná and Uruguay rivers, which are part of the La Plata River basin. The city of Victoria is located in the western region of the province of Entre Rios on the banks of the El Espinilla River, one of the many streams that make up the Paraná River Delta.
The urban center the city started by narrow sidewalks devoid of trees due to a very old municipal ordinance. The prohibited public tree planting. In 2019, this ordinance was lifted, so now some giant trees can be observed in front of some homes. As a result of our observations, no trees in the sidewalks. The following research questions is posed. What are the consequences of air temperature and surface temperature in the city of Victoria, Entre Rios, Argentina, due to the lack of public tree coverage? We and the other students agreed that the advance of sheet
due to the lack of public trees results in sunlight not being reflected on tree leaves but instead reaching the pavement, causing it to heat up as it absorbs the heat. Part of this heat is emitting, thereby increasing the air temperature. The general object is to determine the consequence both in air and surface temperature for the community of the city of Victoria Entre Rios, Argentina, stemming from the scarcity of public trees in the urban center.
The main specific objectives are confirm that the urban center lacks trees and are abundant. Identify tree species on sidewalks, geoposition them, measure their height and trunk diameter. Compare different surface and air temperatures, conducting global protocols under different land cover conditions. Locate on a city map the trees present on sidewalks. Take air and surface temperature measurements from the downtown area to the outskirts of the city to determine whether or not there are variations.
Various globe protocols were employed in the research methodology, including calibration protocol for alcohol thermometer, air temperature protocol with alcohol thermometer, surface temperature protocol with infrared thermometer, tree height protocol using both manual method and the globe observer app, tree trunks in circumference protocol, soil temperature protocol, wind protocol. The fieldwork principally consists in making experiment number 1. Compare surface, air and water temperatures under various ground covers exposed to sunlight. Experiment number 2. Explore the significance of using the same volume of water in different classes. Experiment number 3. Measure air and surface temperature in various land cover scenarios, considering exposed to direct sunlight or shade. Data of trees, measurements of air and surface temperatures and wind were taken in different areas of the city, in the city center and its surroundings, to determine if the definition of the urban heat island was met.
The fieldwork principally consists in making. In the data summary, we will show you the principal bar graph of experiment number 3, which corresponds to variations in surface temperature. We compare these temperatures in different covers, in the presence and absence of sunlight. We can observe in the graph that on July 26, 2023, the surface temperature in different covers did not show much difference. This could be because the air temperature that day was 12 degrees Celsius. In the following measurements, variations were greater. Surface temperatures measured in the sunlight, pink, light blue, and green columns were higher than those observed in the shade. Surface temperatures on bare ground and concrete covers were higher than those with grass cover. This corresponds those days having higher air temperatures.
In this picture, we can observe different measurements of air and surface temperature in the shade of a tree and outside it. In the shade, the air temperature is 3.4 degrees lower than in the sun. This difference becomes very noticeable when comparing surface temperature on the sidewalks under the shade of a tree and outside it. There, large temperature differences are observed 5.3 degrees on December 27. The same situation, but less pronounced, is observed on sidewalks with grass cover and with material cover, where the observed difference is approximately 4.3 degrees. The principal conclusions are: we demonstrated that the height and circumference of sidewalks, trees, trunks are lower than those in parks. Leafy surface reflects sunlight, preventing it from reaching the ground. Consequently, areas shaded by a tree absorb less heat. In the highlighting the subsequent release of a heat into the air and confirming the validity of our hypothesis. Determining whether our city behaves as an inherent heat island requires more data. What we have collected so far is not sufficient to either prove or reject this proposition.
Here we show you some of the trees we suggested to plant in the sidewalks. We prefer native trees because this will benefit our fauna in general, but particularly pollinating insects like butterflies, wasps, and bumblebees. Among exotic trees, we prefer those with more colorful blossoms. All are medium-sized trees due to our narrow sidewalks, as suggested by some agronomical engineers. To see our complete project, you can scan the QR code here. If you like it, you can write a comment. We would really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. If there is time, we can watch the video we made for the project. We saw it before. We have already watched the video. That's all.
All right. Thank you for that presentation to go along with the video we saw. Are there any questions? I did see a couple questions. Peter, you still there? Did you see some of those questions in the chat? One from Lenka, I remember.
Yeah, I'm looking through them. Let me see if I can get them out very quickly. A lot of great comments. It's great to see so many students making such great presentations. Just, even when limitations with bandwidth are a problem, we love the fact that, and there's delays. So thank you for staying with us and working through those with us. Let me see if I can read through some of these questions. One question from Lenka is, are you going to continue with your project?
Yes, we are going to continue. Like, our idea is to really have it in mind each year.
That's awesome.
And then, yeah, I noticed that I made a comment about you had a goal, and you said by 2030 you'd like to see more trees and more shade, and you will start to see that in 5 years. Will you pass on your research? I know by then you will move on to other schools, maybe university, but will you pass that research on to younger students so that they continue to see the progress in those trees that are being planted and growing?
All the college will participate in planting trees.
Excellent.
I like that plan of identifying in this research project the trees that should be planted, and then doing that from school year to school year by planting more of those trees in the urban environment. So that's great. I did see, and you may have answered this, I think you answered this in your presentation, but there was a question from it was where'd it go? I keep on losing it. It was, yep. It says you from Andrea Ventosa from Uruguay. It said you studied the school site, the square, and the streets, didn't you? And I think you answered that in your on your slide presentation. So yes, and Peter Nelson mentions
Brian,
here your next. Yeah, go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say the same thing. In fact, we have another teacher who liked your research so much that she would like to share your slides with her students. So, Marilyn, she asked if it would be possible to get copies of your slides so that she can share them with her students.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I can put you.
And
I can put you two in contact with each other. I can do that, Marilyn and Maria. I can put you in contact with each other, so we can do.
And Brian, Peter did have a comment. He said your next variable you could consider is the angle of the sun at your location.
No, we only do the protocols under the tree, in the shade, or out of the shade.
Sí, él se les está sugiriendo, María. Les está sugiriendo usar el ángulo del sol para el próximo estudio, para prolongar el estudio a futuro.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for your presentation and being here live to present. I'm glad we showed the video. I'm glad you had some slides to go with the video. But thank you for taking the time on your school day to be here with us from Argentina. So thank you so much. All right. I'm going to go back and share my screen again, and we will continue on. And these next presentations, let me go here. All right, so the next two presentations are going to be videos, and I'm not sure if there's a couple of students on, but we have, of course, Peter Nelson here and Cassie Sofing, who work directly with the C students every year. And these next two are from the C students. So before I play this, Peter and/or Cassie, would you like to say anything about the C's program so our participants know a little bit about it before and where the students are coming from before we actually play the first presentation?
Go ahead, Peter.
I thought you'd take that, our director. So the C's program has, our involvement has been to foster and mentor groups of students who have been spread out across the country. And they learn from us a lot of the techniques that we talk about here in this particular campaign. But these students have been working during the summer primarily, and each summer has been a different group of students. And so a lot of it has been testing out ideas. And so like many other groups have been talking about, urban heat island is a big question. And so, you know, this was another technique that students explored to try to address what's happening with those urban heat islands in these areas. And Cassie, can you fill us in a little bit more about who participates in this program?
Sure. It's a highly competitive program, and we take roughly about 50 students in our program, and there's maybe 7 or 8 other C's projects. We're the Earth System Explorer project, and we receive over 800 applications every year. So it's highly competitive. It's not just an academic-based, it's an interest-based program. So we're one of 2 virtual programs. The rest meet on campus at the University of Texas in Austin. The students put together, as Peter mentioned, a research paper a topic that includes NASA globe data. And then we require that they go through all the steps to create a poster, the video, a presentation, and then the paper. And the students, some of them have taken their research to the next level and submitted it for peer review in scientific journals.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Cassie. That's exactly, what we're trying to foster here. So, with that, we've been trying to share many different methods, and so we hope that this continues on some inspiration about what you might be able to do in the next year coming up. Brian, hit play.
All right. Thank you, Peter and Cassie.
Hello. Our project is exploring the relationship between land cover classifications and the intensity of the urban heat island effect. All across the globe, there are areas in which dense urban centers are surrounded by rural landscapes. During the 1800s, scientists began to observe a positive temperature differential between urban centers and their rural counterparts. Scientists believe that despite their geographical proximity, urban areas became hotter as a result of human activity. This phenomenon is known as the urban heat island effect, which is the center of this project's research. The intensity of the urban heat island effect can be quantified using the average temperature difference between urban and rural areas. Although many factors may contribute to the urban heat island effect, our group aimed to compare the intensity of this phenomenon with land cover classifications in our areas of interest. Ultimately, we hope to answer the research question, what is the relationship between the disparity in land cover classifications, most green versus most urban, and the intensity of the urban heat island effect?
In order to solve our research question, we use land cover data from each group member's area of interest. Each AOI is a 3 by 3 kilometer space with 37 evenly spaced data points. We then use Landsat surface temperature data, or LST, to create heat maps that highlight the varying temperatures between the rural and urban area. From there, we calculated the intensity of the urban heat island effect in each of our AOIs, which is simply finding the difference between the average urban and rural temperature. We then classified each of our AOIs using Collect Earth Online and created graphs showing the distribution of land cover elements, which can then be analyzed. To create the images on the screen, we use the Google Earth Engine, a platform used for analyzing geospatial data. These images represent the heat maps in each of our AOIs, which were derived from Landsat land surface temperature data. Each image represents the aggregated LST data spanning from 2013 to 2022. We specifically selected the months of July and August for each year, as they represent the peak summer season where the urban heat island effect is most prominent. To visualize the temperature distribution, we assigned a color palette to the images. The blue color represents lower temperatures, indicating cooler regions, while the red color represents higher temperatures, indicating warmer regions. Each image utilizes its own relative temperature scale, where the average real temperature serves as the minimum value and the average urban temperature serves as the maximum. The urban heat island intensity indicates how severe each urban heat island is, which can further be analyzed to the percentage of land cover elements in each area of interest.
In conjunction with the previous visualizations, these graphs were created using Python and show the percentage of tree cover or rural area in each AOI location we investigated. The data comes from Globe Observer AOIs that were ultimately classified in CEO. As shown, AOI 31 had the most tree cover and was therefore the most rural out of the 3 AOIs. AOI numbers 3 and 32 were similar to each other in percentage of land cover and were more urban compared to AOI 31. Using the percentages of tree cover from CEO, in each AOI we created these scatter plots to visualize our results. These plots compare the UHI intensity with the percentage of tree cover and urban land cover in each AOI. As shown in plots, AOI 31, which was the most rural and had the most tree cover, also had the lowest UHI intensity. In contrast, AOI 3 and AOI 32 were more urban and had a much higher UHI intensity at almost 9. Ultimately, with these graphs, we were able to answer our initial research question of how land cover classifications correlate with the UHI effect. As seen in the graphs, the more tree cover and rural an area is, according to our classification method, the lower the UHI intensity. On the other hand, the higher the urban area, the higher the UHI intensity.
Ultimately, due to the scope of the project, we only had the time to analyze a few AOI locations. As a future improvement, it would be beneficial to analyze as many AOI locations from Globe observers as possible to make concrete findings about this correlation. By beginning this research, we have reinforced the validity of land cover classifications, and we now have the capability to generally predict the UHI intensity of locations based on their classifications. Moving forward, it would help this research to either adopt a mathematical prediction model or create a comparison of the UHI intensity to other methods of classification.
Lastly, we would like to thank the SEAS program and our team mentors for their help during our project and for giving us this incredible opportunity. SEAS Earth System Explorer mentors Dr. Rosanne Lowe, Ms. Cassie Sofing, Mr. Peter Nelson, Dr. Erica Podes, Andrew Clark, and James Irvin.
All right, thank you for that. And I don't know, do we have any of the students on from this research project?
Not that I see, Brian.
Okay, yeah, I know there were a couple that said they might be able to make it, but weren't sure because of classes and everything like that. So if anybody has any specific questions related to this, feel free to put it in the chat, and then Cassie, Peter, and I can get those questions to the students most likely. So feel free to do that.
Brian,
yes.
you know, along those lines, you know, not only if you have questions, but I think these students demonstrated where a lot of other projects could go in this next year. And so, you know, let us know in the chat if you're interested in repeating what these students did. As you saw, they did a lot of computer notebooks and code that can be replicated in a lot of different places. So I want to mention that as something that I'm seeing is now that you've collected a lot of ground data talking about urban heat island, let's take it up to this next level and be able to bring in what these students were able to present.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Peter. That's great. Something that, you know, this is a great, like this presentation and the research they did is a great one to go off of for future presentations and research. All right. With that said, I'm going to move to the next one.
Hello. Our project.
Oh, sorry. Let me stop that a second. So I'm going to go to this next one here, and this is going to be, sorry, it's a little dark right now, but this is going to be once again another SEAS project from students. This is the influence of tree density upon the spatial distribution of mosquito population. So as you know, we have the Mission Mosquito, which Cassie is leading, and with the Mission Mosquito for Globe. So we wanted to get this in here because since, you know, this is a trees campaign, and this is a great tie-in where it talks about you know, tree density and mosquito populations, which is you know, in the Northern Hemisphere, you know, we're coming into spring into summer where we're going to see a huge influx in mosquitoes coming soon. So let me go ahead and play this, and then we can talk after this is over. This is about the same length as the last one, so enjoy.
Hello, I'm Vivek Apipatla.
I'm Shana Jumokamga.
I'm Izzy List. And I'm Emmy Shockley. This is our presentation on the influence of tree density upon the spatial distribution of mosquito populations. This is a little overview of what we'll be going over today. This is the About slide. Mosquitoes pose an ongoing global threat to public health, and it is essential to determine the conditions for mosquitoes thrive. The aim of this project was to identify the effects of tree density on mosquito populations using Houston, Texas as a case study. Houston's subtropical climate and the city's large population of disease-carrying mosquitoes make Houston an ideal climate for mosquito breeding and the spread of vector-borne illness. From Houston's data, we can identify the relationship between tree density and tree concentration with mosquito populations to better see mosquito risk. We hypothesized that an increase in tree density will lead to an increase in mosquito populations.
The first tools we used for this project was the Globe Observer program, which focuses on building connections with people and their environments. Globe has two subdivisions that we used. The first was the Land Cover Observer tool, in which we were able to gather knowledge about the urbanization and land cover of Houston. The second tool we used was the Mosquito Mapper, which we used to get data about the spatial distribution of mosquitoes in the context of Houston. ArcGIS is another tool we used in combination with the Mosquito Mapper, as it helped us get a map of the mosquito in Houston. Finally, we used GitHub program to analyze the land cover photos and determine the tree density.
To start our research, we first selected 3 AOIs, or areas of interest, within the city of Houston, Texas. We then utilized Globe Observer,
a citizen science application that collects observational data and images from users throughout the world. In this case, we gathered just over 500 photos of land cover data taken by Houston residents within the 3 areas of interest. We then uploaded these photos and globe data to a GitHub program that analyzed these images and generated plots depicting the tree densities and distribution throughout our AOIs in the general Houston area. We then obtained an ArcGIS polygon layer of our areas of interest and layered it onto the mosquito population data from iNaturalist and Mosquito Habitat Mapper that were in the region. In doing so, we were able to determine if tree density was a factor in mosquito numbers by generating 3 figures of Houston, Texas, one depicting tree density, one depicting tree concentration and urbanization levels, and one depicting mosquito population levels.
The images presented above represent our quantified data of tree density shown in Figure A, land cover distribution shown in Figure B, and mosquito data population shown in Figure C.
As shown, we have 3 maps of Houston, each representing different things. Figure A and Figure B, the maps of tree density and urbanization are inversely related, which makes sense because in places where there's more urbanization and buildings, there's less space for these trees to grow. Figure C, on the other hand, is very similar to Figure B, showing a direct correlation between mosquito abundance and urbanization, and an inverse relationship between mosquito abundance and tree density, which completely contradicts our hypothesis. The best possible explanation for this is that there's more people in the places that are urbanized, which means more disease vectors for these mosquitoes. And as stated before, in places that are urbanized, there are going to be less trees on average. Therefore, there are more mosquitoes in places with less trees. This doesn't mean that less trees automatically leads to less mosquitoes. It just means that more urbanization leads to more mosquitoes, and this urbanization also leads to less trees.
From this data, we can conclude that there's a positive correlation between urbanization and mosquitoes, and a negative correlation between tree density and mosquito numbers. In the future, this data could possibly be utilized in determining which locations and groups are at the highest risk for mosquito-borne illnesses. Places with high levels of urbanization are more likely to host more significant mosquito populations, and thus the citizens of these areas are at a higher risk. Going forward, we could expand this experiment by choosing different locations and more areas of interest to solidify our data by cross-referencing any new information with our current data to confirm our findings. Overall, this data refutes our hypothesis, in which we predicted that the higher the tree density, the higher the mosquito population.
On the behalf of our team, we would like to acknowledge the people who have made this program possible. Thank you to Dr. Roseanne Lowe, Ms. Cassie Sofing, Mr. Peter Nelson, Dr. Erica Podis, and Andrew Clark. And thank you for listening.
All right, Cassie and Peter, do you see any students on from here?
I do not.
Okay. Do you, Cassie, or Peter have anything to say about this presentation? I really like this, you know, the idea of them really seeing that, you know, their hypothesis was refuted, and they saw, you know, they discussed the reasons why that was refuted. So, yeah. Peter, Cassie?
Brian, I'll just end with saying, you know, these 2 projects really demonstrate, I think, the next places that a lot of students can go. This question about what is the distance between trees, you know, isn't just about mosquitoes, but it could be about birds, or it could be about squirrels. It could be about a lot of different activities. So starting to think about not only, you know, the tree trunk spacing, but also that canopy cover is something that is a perfect opportunity to do right now, as many of us, as we want to talk about here, are experiencing this leaf out. So I want to end with saying I loved seeing all of these pictures in here, because it really demonstrates what we're seeing and the variability around the world. It also clearly demonstrates how a picture can give us insights. And I saw some where the trees were really bright green. I saw other places where there were only branches. And so I think this is a great opportunity to, you know, ask and think about you know, how long does it take for those trees to actually go to, you know, their peak phenology or their greenness? What is the biggest canopy that they're going to experience? I love these sort of questions. So let's turn it over to a couple of folks who are helping lead our focus on tree leaves.
All right, thank you for that transition, Peter. And yes, now I'm going to pass it over to Alicia Carlson, and she will be talking about the North America Phenology Campaign. So let me unshare and pass it over to you, Alicia.
Great, thank you. These have been some really just inspiring projects. I'm looking forward to sharing these with our community in the United States. I just want to say a couple quick things about our North America Phenology Campaign. We've based it largely on the very successful campaign in Europe and Eurasia. We're still in our first year, so we're still building excitement here in North America. So while we're collecting data in North America, we've created some resources that would be useful to people around the world. And so I'm going to share our page there with all those resources. So for instance, we've developed a number of video tutorials for using GLOBE protocols and the Observer app. And we've interviewed some professional scientists who study different aspects of phenology. And so we've posted some pretty short videos with questions and answers from them. And yeah, we've shared some other resources that will help people along their way as they're collecting right now green up data, and in the fall the green down data. So that's really about all I have to say. We're, you know, looking forward to continuing this into the future and getting more schools and students involved in North America, because right now the data visualization on the GLOBE app, if you look at North America, there's much fewer points on it than the ones in Europe and Eurasia. So Lenka and her crew are doing a fantastic job over there.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Alicia. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'm glad about. You know, this is the first year of the North American Phenology Campaign, and yeah, we definitely, you know, your mention of the map, like the visualization system of GLOBE, we definitely need more in the United States, because we're having a lot of green up and green down here as well. So yeah, I'm just hoping we'd love to get as much data as the awesome folks do in Europe and Eurasia. So you know, we think that, you know, with this campaign that a lot's gonna happen. So that's great. Does anybody have any questions for Alicia? All right, and as she mentioned, she put the link to the campaign in the chat, so please check that out. I'll also have that link on the campaign webinar page once we get the recording up there and ready for viewing. So thank you, Alicia, for being here and talking about the campaign, North America Phenology Campaign. All right, so right now we're going to what I want to mention also is that because of the time, I'm going to the two interview videos. We're going to leave those for another webinar because they are quite long. They'll add another like 15 minutes onto the webinar length. But you know, last but not least, I'm going to pass it over now in a second to Lenka, and she will be talking about the European Phenology Campaign. And what's happening right now is the 2024 Spring Tree Campaign. And let me say, you know, I've been at a lot of their webinars for the campaign, and they are phenomenal. The amount of activities and the participation from the folks across Europe and Eurasia is great. And the webinars also, you know, they focus on those regions, but they bring in a lot of people from outside the Europe and Eurasia region for GLOBE. So I will pass this over to Lenka, and she's going to talk about this. The trees are beautiful with the European Phenology Campaign. So take it away, Lenka.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. And
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here and talk a bit about the campaign, and also hear all the student presentation, because there are so many wonderful ideas. And yeah, also I want to thank to Brian and Alicia and your teams for the great inspiration and sharing of all that we can, because that's so important, and we really learn a lot from you all the time. So let me share my screen. So, hi, I'm Lenka Kleger, and I'm greeting you from Prague, Czech Republic. And I'm going to talk about how beautiful are trees and why we think it's important to observe them within the European Phenology Campaign or other parts of world phenology campaigns. And what is going on right now is in here in Europe, in our region, is that the trees are waking up from their winter sleep, and students in our campaign are going out. They choose their tree, and with very simple tools, with a ruler, pen, paper, they just observe how the trees are changing, how buds are opening and leaves are growing. So that simple it is. And the campaign actually started a long time ago. You can see it grew up from 2016 until now, really like a little seedling or as a tree. And we are so happy and so proud that schools still want to join. And this spring we have 320 schools from 23 different countries, which means that 4,500 students are involved. And that means a lot of measurements, a lot of knowledge collected and gathered, and a lot of wonderful collaborations between the students and the teachers. This is the core of the campaign. So students choose their tree, and I already mentioned that they go out and watch the miracle of spring, how the buds are opening. They measure the leaf length, and we also encourage everybody to work with the data. So to share the data with the GLOBE community via the GLOBE database. And yeah, for example, this year it's really interesting because at least in my country, the greening up is about 1 month earlier. So I'm really curious to have all the data from the spring and learn if it was the same in different countries as well. What more we do, we think it's very important to learn about the tree, like in a broader sense, not just to watch how it is greening up, but also to learn how high the tree is. So we are very happy for the support from Brian and his team and his campaign. We encourage students to measure temperature and precipitation, because this is something really closely connected with the phenology onset of greening up. You heard a lot about urban heat island and the importance of trees. So that's another aspect of our campaign. And of course, trees play an important role in the global carbon cycle. So that's another thing that we want to just to open for you students and for the teachers, and just to have a quick look into that. And last but not least, we started to focus on sensitivity towards nature. So that's something that we think is very important. So if anybody wants to do the research on trees, it's very important to bond with them, to yeah, be just interested in nature. That's the first step to discovering it. And just a quick findings, from the feedback from schools, we found out that seeing the tree waking up, seeing the bud opening is just an amazing experience that students really appreciate the most from the spring observation, the moment that they see that the tree is awake. It's something that they really enjoy. We have a lot of cooperation going on, so that brings us a lot of findings about the different timing of greening up, and also about different cultures and approaches towards trees and importance of trees in different cultures. Yeah, and phenology is fun. It gives us a lot of information, a lot of data, but it opens a lot of space for different activities in nature, and this bonding with the nature that I already mentioned, especially in the autumn when we will continue the campaign for sure. And what I wanted to show you as the most important part of my presentation is that over the years of the campaign, we have collected a lot of ideas, a lot of projects from school. So we have a Padlet where some of these ideas are collected. You can find their videos, Padlets, online books, different presentations. So if you would like to see more about the projects, get some ideas for your research, that's a great place to go. And also one invitation from me, our spring campaign here in Europe and Eurasia will finish on June 4th with a final webinar, which is called Our Spring with Trees. And it will be a time for students to talk about their research. So, something like today, students will present what they have done over the spring campaign. So everybody is really invited. We will be happy to have a big audience at our webinar. And all the information can be found on a GLOBE website. If you search for European Phenology Campaign, you will find the information there. So thank you all for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Lenka. That was great. Yeah, just you always put such great slides together. I always love the imagery and everything on the slide. So yeah, great. Just great participation among Europe and Eurasia with this European Phenology Campaign. And yeah, it's so great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the June 4th webinar as well with the student presenters. So I can send the link out. Is there a link on the European Phenology Campaign yet, the page for that webinar?
It's not yet, but it will be coming in like, 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. When I see that, I'll get it out to our Trees campaign team and participants, so they can check it out and register for it if they want to join in.
Thank you, Brian. I'll for sure share it with you. Thanks a lot.
Right. Thank you. All right. Any questions for Lenka? We have a lot of nice comments in here as well in the chat. All right, I don't see any right now. So thank you all for being here today. As I mentioned, we will hold the second part of the interviews with Dr. Soren Popescu and Dr. Bruce Cook with ISAT-2 and Landsat. We'll hold that off due to time. It may not be May since we're doing the live from Japan, but we will include it most likely in the June 2024 campaign webinar. So thank you all so much again for presenting, students, teachers, coordinators for campaigns. So thank you all so much for being here. I will get the recording will be available soon, and hopefully you can check it out. So thank you all so much for being here, and have a great day.